this month of June is coloured in the blood of not just Shaheed Singhs and Singhaniya, Pachangis and Pachangana. It's also coloured in Guru Arjan Dev Maharaj's blood. It's also coloured in the blood of Baba Manda Singh Ji Bahadur. So when we're looking through this, in this very hot month, I mean here, there's heat in the last few days, but in India, those of you who've been there at this time, you know just how hot it is. So in this sweltering heat, Satguru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj gave their Shahidi. You've heard that story, I don't want to go too much into it, just giving you an introduction. Satguru Sahib Ji is tortured for 5 days in Chandu's house in Lahore. First day, Sache Padshah Ji Maharaj is sat outside in the burning hot sun. Second day, Sache Padshah Ji Maharaj is put inside boiling hot water. Third day, Sache Padshah Ji Maharaj is sat upon boiling hot sand. Sometimes we miss some of the bits of the torture out. 5 days the torture carried on. So it wasn't just that Aditya was being put into their seas while they were sitting on the tavi. Sometimes we just say that. If you actually read our history, 5 days of torture carried on. Sache Padshah Ji first was made to sit outside. Choda Loha Aditya Maharaj Ji da. So they're sitting outside in the boiling hot sun. 5, 6 are with Maharaj Ji. They're captured and they're put to one side. Maharaj Ji sitting in the middle of Chandu's Haveli. Then the next day Maharaj Ji is boiled alive in the Ubaldi Dev. Chandu gives the hukum to his people कि तुसी Guru Sahib nu chok ke deg vich bahao. Guru Sahib Ji puts up their hands, refuses to be picked up and put into the deg. Maharaj Ji gets up themselves, chonkda vich maar de ubaldi hui deg de vich. Then after that, the third day, that's when Chandu gets red hot sand, puts it down. Sache Padshah Ji is told to sit upon the sand. Then, not being content with that, Chandu then says कि garm rete de jehde kadshya Sache Padshah Ji de sees vich pao. So that happens that day. First, Maharaj Ji has ulcers upon their skin all over their body from the first day of torture. Then those ulcers, red hot sand is going into them on that other day. Then after that, Guru Sahib Ji is told to stand upon a burning hot plate. So it's all these different parts of Guru Sahib Ji Shahidi. He can not just what we hear or what we've read in 1 or 2 books. If you look into our history deeply, there's a lot more to the Shahidi than that. ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਰਜਨ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਦਾ ਜ਼ਿਕਰ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਆ, ਗੁਰੂ ਅਰਜਨ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਦਾ ਕਾਰਨ ਕੀ ਹੈ? What is the reason? ਭਾਵੇਂ ਅਸੀਂ 1984 ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ ਅੱਜ, the lecture is going to go into 1984 as well. But why was Guru Arjan Dev Ji shaheed? ਪਹਿਲੀ ਗੱਲ, the first thing which is sacred to us is Guru Granth Sahib Ji's Bani. In order to stop Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji from being edited by the Mughal government of that time, Maharaj says no. When they say to Guru Sahib, they say, one alternative we give you to death is to change Guru Granth Sahib Ji, to edit Guru Granth Sahib Ji and put in the praise of the Prophet Muhammad, or to put in the praise of some other prophet. Sache Padshah Ji says no. So one reason is for the sanctity of Sri Guru Granth Sahib. The second reason Sri Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj Shahidi happens is for the sanctity of the Sangat, for your word. Because the Sangat refused the Rishta of Chandu's daughter. Chandu's daughter, this is a long story, this isn't the topic for today, but it's relevant because it's what happened within these months which we remember. Maharaj Ji says that if the Sangat says no to the Rishta, then I will not go against the words of the Sangat. So not just for Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj's sanctity, but also to protect your words, the words of the Sangat. Who is the Sangat? Sangat isn't just people who were there 500 years ago. You are that same Sangat that Guru Arjan Dev Ji gave his head for. एक याद रखने वाली गल आ, ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਕਿਉਂ ਹੋਈ, ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਪਵਿੱਤਰਤਾ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਬਦਲਾਵ ਨਾ ਕਰ ਸਕੇ, ਇੱਕ ਅੱਖਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ ਉਹ ਕੋਈ ਬਦਲ ਨਾ ਸਕੇ। ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਸ ਕਾਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ, ਗੁਰੂ ਅਰਜਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਚੱਲਦੀ। ਦੂਜੀ ਗੱਲ, ਸੰਗਤ ਨੇ ਚੰਦੂ ਦੀ ਬੇਟੀ ਦੇ ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਸੀ। ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਆਖਿਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਸੰਗਤ ਨੇ ਨਾ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਕਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਵਾਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ। ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿ ਸੰਗਤ ਦੇ ਕਹੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੁਰਬਾਨੀ, ਆਪਣੀ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ। ਜਿਸ ਗੁਰੂ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਬਚਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਆ, इस जून के महीने में अपने आप को पूछना चाहिए आ तू गुरु के बचनों उत्ते किन्ना अपनी जिंदगी को ढालदा। If the Guru gave his head in order to protect what you guys said or what I said as members of the Sangat, then how much are we following what the Guru says? The Guru gives his body, the Guru gives his life. He says, Vich Sangat Har Prabh Vasai Ji, कि मेरी संगत, पहली गल गुरबाणी, secondly Sangat, that's sacred. How much do we follow? Anyway, just to make this succinct and concise, the third thing, Guru Sahib Ji Shahidi, why does it happen? Prince Khusro comes, Maharaj Ji gives him Prashada Pani, Maharaj Ji gives him something to eat. Sache Padshah Ji Maharaj welcomes him in the house of Guru Nanak. Bani, Sangat, te Sharan da concept jehda hai. Sharan means, Sharan is a concept in Gurmat, jo Sharane aave, te Sakant laave, ye Bird Swami Sangha. These three pillars of Sikhi, one is Bani, second is Sangat, teesra Sharan. When someone comes into the protection of Guru Nanak's house, that protection is final. Jehda vi Sharan aunda ya, Maharaj odi laaj rakhde. So firstly for Bani, secondly for Sangat, thirdly to say, jehda Guru Nanak de ghar aa gaya, assi odi baah fadni. For that concept of protecting others, anyone who comes to this door will always be giving protection. Guru Nanak da ghar jehda hai, Guru Nanak da darwaja sada vaste khulla rakhan lai Sache Padshah Ji ne apni shahidi diti. So these are three things to keep in mind. I'm just gonna, as you know, usually I sing this Shabad before I begin. Shabad da paath karke fir aapa lecture jehda a ja thoda 1984 ਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਵਾਂਗੇ। ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੀ, ਸ਼ਬਦ ਦਾ ਪਾਠ ਕਰਕੇ then we'll go a little bit forward. If you can read Gurmukhi, then please follow along the Shabad. ठीक है, if you can't, you can read the meanings. Satnam Sri Vaheguru Ji Ujjwal Veer Brahm Sukha Sagar Garat Parat Gahle Honguriya Garat Parat Gahle Honguriya Sravanana Surat Nain Sundar Nahi Sravanana Surat Nain Sundar Nahi Arat Dwar Ratat Pinguriya Arat Dwar Ratat Pinguriya Dinanath Anath Karna Mein Dinanath Anath Karna Mein Sajan Meet Pita Mehtariya Sajan Meet Pita Mehtariya Charan Kamal Hirday Geh Nanak Bhai Sagar Sant Pare Utariya. The topic which Aman Singh gave to me was that of 1984, but like most things, I don't usually begin from the time scale that's given to me. I always like to begin with the beginning, because I think that's where you should begin. And the beginning would be Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj. So, you may think, how is this relevant? It's very relevant. Those people who are fighting in 1984, those people who are advocating for rights, where does that advocation, where does that drive come from? It comes from Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj. Some days we think, maybe the path of fighting for rights isn't the path of Guru Nanak Sahib. But I was actually reading the Janam Sakhi a few days ago, In the Janam Sakhi, there comes a story where people are doing ardas in front of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. And the ardasiya says, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, people are doing ardas and they've actually offered weapons as well to Guru Nanak Sahib. We might say, oh, I've never heard of this before. I'll give you the reference of the Janam Sakhi. It's also been quoted by Dr. Jaswant Singh Ji Neki, who came and spoke here about now a few years ago. Probably one of the most... when you read his Punjabi, it sort of mesmerizes you. Dr. Jaswant Singh Ji Neki aisi ek hasti san, he's passed away now sadly, but when he wrote about Guru Sahib and about philosophy, just the wording which he used was so fluent that it carried a very distinct fragrance in itself. Anyway, Dr. Jaswant Singh Neki puts that down. I'm going to run through this first part very quickly. Where does this idea come from to fight for the truth? The quote that we have up on the board, many times we ask, or someone asks us, where did the word Singh come from? A lot of us say Guru Gobind Singh Ji, someone says Bhai Sukha Ji, someone says the Amar Sanchar, someone says whatever, someone says whatever. Well, when we actually look into Gurbani and we look into Bhai Gurdas Ji uses the word Singh for Guru Nanak Dev Ji. He uses the word lion, tiger, however you want to translate Singh for Guru Nanak Sahib. 2 times it comes up. First he uses this Bukya Singh Ujad Vich Saab Mirgaval Panni Jai. If you're finding difficulty reading this type of writing Gurumukhi joint up is called Ladivar. And this is the way the Gurus wrote it. The reason why it's difficult to read is because it was meant to be difficult to read, so that when you're sitting there, your concentration doesn't go elsewhere. If things were be written in Ladivar, we wouldn't have people not concentrating on Guru Sahib Ji's tabya. You'd have every single person having to look. That's not saying that Padshah is any less. No, that's not my idea. My idea to present Ladivar to you is to try and present an authentic way of Gurmukhi, the way that Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj wrote it, the way that Guru Nanak Sahib Ji wrote it. Anyway, that's a side point. Guru Nanak Sahib Ji Maharaj is described as a lion or a tiger. Bukya Singh Ujad Vich Sab Mirgavali Panni Jai. O Singh Bukke Mirgavali Panni Jai Na Theer Turwa. Jehड़ा शब्द ਅਸੀਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਪ੍ਰਗਟਿਆ ਮਿੱਟੀ ਧੁੰਦ ਜਗ ਚਾਨਣ ਹੋਆ. ਸਿੰਘ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਲਈ ਵਰਤਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ. So the word Singh, the word lion is associated with Guru Nanak. Why is it associated with Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj? Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, when Satguru Sache Padshah Ji is confronted with the injustices of the time, ਜਦੋਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜ਼ੁਲਮ ਦਾ ਟਾਕਰਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਉਦੋਂ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਬੇਬਾਕ ਹੋ ਕੇ, ਨਿਧੜਕ ਹੋ ਕੇ, ਬੇਪਰਵਾਹ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਆ. Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, when he's confronted with evil, he does not stuck around. He tackles the issue straight on. Satguru Sache Padshah Ji Maharaj stands in front of people who are committing atrocities. Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj famously says, it comes in Gurbani, he says, Raje Shi Mukaddam Kutte Jaye Jagayan Baithe Sutte Chakar Naida Payan Kao Rat Petar Kutteo Chat Ja. Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj stands in front of the people of the time. And what are the people of the time doing? The kings, they are pressing people, trying to get as much money as they can, or trying to push whatever other agenda it is, whether they're trying to get more land, whether they're trying to get more money. Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj stands up in front of the kings, says, Rajeshi, the kings are like tigers that are man-eating. Mukaddam kutte, their officials are like dogs. Jai jagayan baithe sutte. They go into people's houses and they wake up people who are asleep. Those of you who saw the days of the 1980s in Punjab, I was born a few years after this in 1987. जिन्हों ने 1984 ਦਾ ਵੇਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ 80 ਦਾ 90 ਦਾ ਵੇਲਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ 'ਚ ਦੇਖਿਆ, these words of Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj will not be alien to you. You will know that people are woken up whilst they were sleeping in their houses, dragged out and taken into false encounters. Apparently they had been fighting. When you see the bullet marks upon them, then you can tell that this wasn't an encounter, this was someone being shot at point blank range. Okay? So those same words of Guru Nanak, that's why I begin here, because that same cycle of violence, the same cycle of state injustice, the same cycle of people being oppressed is happening at the time of Satguru Sahib Ji. Satguru Sahib Ji Maharaj says, Rajeshi Mukaddam Kutte. Guru Nanak Sahib Ji Maharaj is not the kind of saint. Satguru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj is not the kind of Guru who sits by whilst injustice is happening. Satguru Sahib Ji Maharaj stands up. Maharaj Ji says that the people, the officials, they are like dogs. Jaye jagaye na baithe sutte chakar naida pain kao rat pit kutte ho chat ja. The chakar, the servants of the government officials, they are like the nails of the lion. Rat pit kutte ho chat ja. And the dogs, who are the officials, are sucking up the blood of the people. Whether that was Babur, whether that was the Lodi dynasty, because many people don't know this. Before Babur, in Punjab, in India, there was the Lodi dynasty. They were Pathans. But they were also, there's a famous story which comes up where Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, Bhai Mardana Ji go to a village, and Bhai Mardana Ji is beaten by the Pathans. When Bhai Mardana Ji is beaten by the Pathans, then Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj says to the Pathans, Pathano, tusi apne jor de utte, tuanu apne paise utte, raj de utte nasha hai na, Rab ne eho ji maar bhejni hai कि तुसी रोई जाना है, तुहानू रोंदियां नू किसी ने चुप नहीं कराना. Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj tells them, be afraid of God. When they beat up Bhai Mardana Ji, many people don't know this story, it comes in Sri Gurpratap Suraj Granth by Kavi Santokh Singh. That Bhai Mardana Ji is pushed by local Pathans. Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, just because he is low caste, just because that he hasn't got any army, he hasn't got any money, doesn't mean you can push him about. If you push people about, then God will bring about such events that you will end up crying. Guru Nanak Dev Ji says to the Pathans. Eventually Babur comes. When Babur comes, other people are running away from Babur. Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj goes to the place where Babur comes. And in our history, there are many, many different stories of how this happens. Satguru Sache Padshah Ji Maharaj tells Babur, they say to Babur, you are coming here and you are setting fire, you are doing all these types of things. Khurasan khasmana kiya, Hindustan duraya, ape dosh na dayi karta, jamkar Mughal chadaya. Maharaj Sache Padshah Ji even says to Babur, Ratan vigad vigoye, kutti moya sar na kar. Those people you are killing, they are like jewels. And your officials, your soldiers, they are like dogs. Once these people die, there's no bringing them back. These people who you are plundering, looting, they are also human beings. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is advocating those rights which we call human rights now. Satguru Sache Padshah Ji Maharaj is standing up for the truth there. Sach ki bani Nanak aakhe, sach sunaye si, sach ki dega. Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj says, the truth spoken on time, that is what must be the path of a Sikh. You can speak the truth after the time. Mauke da sach jehda hunda hai woh bolna chahiye. That's what Guru Nanak Dev Ji is telling us. Whether we do that or not, let's look at our own jeevan. Whether I do that, I know. Whether you do that, tuhanu pata hai. But Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj says, Mauke da sach. What is happening at the time? Anyway, Maharaj Sache Padshah Ji confronts Babur. They confront many others. Maharaj says, Kadi kood bol mal khaye, Brahman na ve jiyan kaye, Jogi jugat na jane, and tine ujade ka ban. Guru Nanak Dev Ji not only tackles the governments, Guru Nanak Dev Ji also looks at the religious, the whole build-up. Maharaj Sache Padshah Ji looks at them. Maharaj says, Kadi. Kadi means Qazi. The people who were sitting in the courts. Kadi kood bol mal khaye, they are taking bribes. Brahman na hai jiya kahe. The Brahman, the Hindu priest, is taking many, many ishnans, washing his body again and again. But alongside that, he is also selling out his own people. Jogi jugatna jane and. The yogis, they are looking for peace, but they have not brought it to those around them. Tine ujade ka band. All of these three are leading to the destruction of India at that time. Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, whether it's political, whether it's religious, Maharaj Sache Padshah Ji is confronting injustice wherever they see it. And that same roar of a lion carries on. So after Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, you have Guru Angad Dev Ji. What happens in Guru Angad Dev Ji's court? Humayun comes. He is the son of Babur. Satguru Sache Padshah Ji Maharaj is teaching Gurmukhi. And this is a beautiful story. It tells you how Guru Angad Dev Ji Maharaj, and this is another thing for forums like this, for Khalsa schools or whatever you want to call them, or where someone is teaching Gatka Shastra Vidya to kids, where someone is teaching Kirtan to kids, where someone is teaching Santhya to kids, how important that is. Guru Angad Dev Ji Maharaj is sitting there teaching Gurmukhi. He doesn't let the Gurmukhi class be interrupted even by the Emperor of India. The Emperor of India walks in, Sache Padshah Ji carries on teaching Gurmukhi, doesn't look up. Then he pulls out his sword. Humayun is trying to pull out his sword. When he tries to pull it out, he finds it's jammed. When he tries to pull his sword out, he tries again and again. Then he falls at Guru Sahib Ji's feet. Sache Padshah Ji Maharaj says to him, they say, when you are meant to fight, he just lost a battle against a man called Sher Shah Suri, who was a Pathan. Humayun, when you were meant to pull out your sword, where did it go then? Now you are pulling out your sword upon the men of God. That same roar of a lion goes from Guru Nanak Sahib to Guru Angad Dev Ji. Then from Guru Angad Dev Ji comes to Guru Amar Das Sache Padshah. Akbar comes to meet Maharaj. Maharaj says, no one can come into this darbar until they have sat outside in the langar, where a pauper sits next to a king. Jithe Padshah te Gareeb kathe bende. Maharaj Sache Padshah Ji sends Akbar out. Then Guru Ramdas Maharaj Sache Padshah. A lot of people don't know this story, but again in Gur Pratap Suraj Granth, if you were to listen to the katha of your history, Guru Ramdas Maharaj goes into the court of Akbar. Sache Padshah Ji Maharaj in the court of Akbar fights the case of Sikhi. In that court, the Qadis and the Hindu priests, they are saying that this Granth is full of venom, it's full of jair. The writings of Guru Nanak's house are full of jair, that is what they are saying, full of poison. Guru Ramdas Ji goes in and advocates for Sikhi in Akbar's court. Then after that, obviously comes the time of Shri Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj. For Sangat, for Bani, for the concept of Sharan Rakhana. And I explained that at the beginning of this lecture, Sharan Rakhana, Prince Khusro. In order to protect that, Shri Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj gives their Qurbani, gives their Shahidi. And Maharaj Ji says at that point, Bhai Pindarpal Singh Ji quotes this often, but it's a very beautiful poem. When Sai Miyan Mir asks Guru Sahib, what are you doing? Sri Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj says, I am putting down a seed. Sache Padshah Ji Maharaj ne jo us vele Sai Miyan Mir nu akhya, usi kei bari suniya bhi hoega. थोड़े समय अंदर ही फुल इसदे खिलर जान के इउं संसार अंदर कोई चांदनी चौंक नूं भाग लासी चढ़ के देश दे कौम दे दर्द प्यार अंदर महक उठू चमकौर दी जू सारी टुटे जदों दो रुत बहार अंदर अध खिड़े ही तोड़ के टाणियां तो चिण देवेगा कोई दीवार अंदर लगी रहेगी सदा बहार इसते लागे खिजा ने इसदे टुकना नहीं और पई ते कदमी सुकना नहीं क्योंकि खून शहीदां दा मुकना नहीं. Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj says, I am laying down Qurbani. Where there was Qurbani in the Panth, now I am putting down another thing called Qurbani, sacrifice. Bani and sacrifice are these things which carry on. And that same thing of Qurbani, of giving yourself up, mar mitna for the better of another, that carries on. Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji Maharaj pulls out the sword, fights 4 battles. The first battle of Shri Amritsar Sahib, 406 died, 7,000 Mughals are killed. They are people who are farmers, people who are shoemakers, people who are Brahmins, people who are all over, many different castes. Amongst them, no one is a soldier. Someone is a farmer, someone is this, someone is that, someone is a blacksmith, whatever. Guru Sahib Ji gets them together, they make the army of the immortal. And they say, when no one else is there to protect you, then you must pull out the sword yourself. That concept is given to us by Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji. That Akal Takht which the Indian government of the time of the 1980s didn't want to see, I want to give you a little example. When you look from an aerial view of Sri Akal Takht Sahib, I think I might have said this to you before, if not, listen carefully. You know the Akal Takht is not straight towards Harimandir Sahib. Even today, if you look at it, it is at an angle. It's not facing towards Harimandir Sahib, it's facing towards Delhi. That was on purpose by Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji Maharaj. And what Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji Maharaj was saying there was, the power of the world will always look at this takht as a challenge. There will never be a time when anyone who is in power will not look at this takht as a threat. Because this takht has that power which can never end. Ek kisi bande da takht nahi, ek Akal da takht hai. And that place, jithe Shastra sajaye jande, sade takhtaं utte ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਸਰੂਪ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਉੱਚੀਆਂ ਟਿਕਾਇਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਕੋਈ ਅਤਕਥ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂ ਮਨਮਤ ਨਹੀਂ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਤਖਤ ਤੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਕਰ ਲਓ। ਭਾਵੇਂ ਉਹ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ ਕੇਸਗੜ੍ਹ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਆ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਉਹ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਤਖਤ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਆ, ਕੇਸਗੜ੍ਹ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਉੱਚੇ ਨੇ। ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਤਖਤ ਸਾਹਿਬ, ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਉੱਚੇ ਨੇ। ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਹਜ਼ੂਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ, ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਉੱਚਾ ਹੈ। ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਪਟਨਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ, ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਉੱਚਾ ਹੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji Maharaj is saying, Harmandir Sahib is a central spirituality. Our Takhts are the center which are going to give us guidance of how to live in this world. And that place, jithe Shastra sajaye jande na, Sri Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji Maharaj says, this is the throne of Akal. Maharaj Ji sets up their throne there. A Shastra, another thing which is used about the 1984 attack of the Indian government is, ਲੋਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਗਏ ਸੀ। ਗਿਆਨੀ ਸੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਸਕੀਨ, when he was talking about this, he said ਤਖਤ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੀ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਹੈ। Not from the time of any particular ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀ, from the time of Guru Hargobind Sahib. When the first battle, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਦੇ ਪੜ੍ਹੋ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ, ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਜੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ, ਲਿਖਿਆ ਬੜਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਆ, ਅਸੀਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ। ਇਹ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ। ਅਸੀਂ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਨਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗਲਤੀ ਆ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗਲਤੀ ਆ, ਮੈਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ, ਮੈਂ ਚੰਗਾ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ, ਬਾਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅੱਜ ਤੋਂ 300 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਫਲਾਨੀ ਇਨਫਲੂਐਂਸ ਸੀਗੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ 200 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਹ ਇਨਫਲੂਐਂਸ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਹ ਇਨਫਲੂਐਂਸ ਆ, ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਜਾਗਰਤ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ। ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਖਾ ਗਈ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਲ ਪਿਆਰ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ। Those people wrote the history in times when you didn't have the things we have today. They had to walk from pen to pen to get the history together. And we can't sit in the Gurdwara and listen to that history now. Imagine those people. Bhai Ratan Singh Pangu, Kavi Santokh Singh, Gyani Gyan Singh, Kesar Singh Shipper, Chaupa Singh, Desha Singh, Prahlada Singh. All those people who travelled to get together what they could. Anyway, that's a different side point. It's one of my pet annoyances with the Panth, as you can say, as a whole. But we always say, oh, Sada Ityahas nahi. Karam Singh, historian, writes, he says, if I was to meet Ratan Singh Pangu, I would kiss the hands with which he wrote Panth Prakash. Because if he hadn't have written Panth Prakash, you wouldn't have Bhai Mani Singh's photo up in your langar hall. Because you wouldn't know about his Shahidi. Who documented his Shahidi? Ratan Singh Pangu. Who documented the Shahidi of Bhai Taru Singh? Ratan Singh Pangu. Who documented the Shahidi of Tara Singh Vam? Ratan Singh Pangu. Who documented the Shota Kalukara? Ratan Singh Pangu. Who documented the Vadda Kalukara? Ratan Singh Pangu. Who's going to document 1984? This is another question which is in front of us. When you read about this Kalukara, you have to read through so many books to try and sift out what are the facts. In order to give you this presentation, I've probably looked through, 20 to 30 books. Just to try and find what I can give you as facts, what I can give you as figures. I don't want to long this out. I want to try and finish within the time scale that we have. I mean, we have until 4, but I want to give you a long time for your discussion at the end. So this carries on. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji's time comes. The time of Guru Gobind Singh Ji comes. You know the sacrifices of the Guru. You've heard them many times. Okay? That same roar of a lion comes from Guru Nanak all the way through the 10 Padshahis to Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji Maharaj. Then Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji Maharaj establishes the Takhts, Sri Harimandir Sahib, Sri Patna Sahib, Sri Huzur Sahib. Okay. Shahidiyan which carry on. Every government found a problem, found an issue with the Panth. So these are just some figures. I'm not saying that ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਸੱਚੋ ਸੱਚ ਆ। I'm saying that ਇਹ ਜਿੱਥੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਮੈਂ ਲੱਭ ਸਕਿਆ ਇਹ ਫਿਗਰ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਰੱਖਿਆ। ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਘੱਟ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ, ਵੱਧ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ, ਮੈਂ ਦਾਅਵਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦਾ। I'm not telling you that this is the 100% exact, because if anyone was to do that, I'd find Guru Granth Sahib Ji says, "Soi ajan kahe main janna." The person who says, "I know," you know that person doesn't know. Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji says. So I'm not giving you 100% saying what I'm saying is the 100% truth, but this is roughly the figures. So in the time of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, roughly 5,000 Singhs, Singhaniya, Bhujangiya give their lives. Then after that, up until 1716. 1716 is an important date because that is the year that Banda Singh Bahadur is Shaheed in Delhi, June 1716. Then from 1716 to 1765, around 225,000. Then you have Frankshir himself, who was the emperor who ordered the execution of Baba Banda Singh. In his particular time, you have around 25,000. Abdul Samad, who was one of the governors of Punjab, he is said to have killed around 20,000 Sikhs. Then after that, you have Yahya Khan, who is said to have killed 10,000. Shah Nawaz, 1,000. Mir Manu, 40,000. Mir Manu, is the governor of Punjab. When you hear about Manu Sadi Datri, Asi Manu this way, the Singhaniya in the jails of Lahore. Then after that, Ahmad Shah Abdali, 60,000. Adina Beg, he is one of the commanders in Jalandhar. He is said to have killed around 10,000. Then you have Nazib-ul-Dawla. He is said to have killed around 20,000 Sikhs. So, लगातार गुरु साहिब जी के वेले तो शहीदियां दा सिलसिला जिहड़ा जारी है. साडी कौम दे उत्ते मुश्किल जिहड़ी आ ये पहली बार नहीं पई, पर असी इहनूं इस तरह डील कर रहे हैं जिवें पहली बार होया. ये कई बार हो चुका है, कई बार हो चुका, many times. जे तीसरा घल्लूकारा होया तो इस तो पहला छोटा भी होया या बड़ा भी होया. If this is the third genocide, we've had the first genocide, the Shota Kalukara, the Vadda Kalukara, we had the first two genocides. The reason why I'm telling you this is because these people wrote in blood the stories that we are telling today. Anyway, then comes the story of Indian independence. In Indian independence, 1947, India is partitioned into Pakistan and Hindustan. Okay? And at that time, the leadership of the Sikhs is under a man called Master Tara Singh. Master Tara Singh is asked whether he wants to side with Pakistan, whether he wants to side with Hindustan. He ends up siding with Hindustan. He ends up siding with India. So in 1947, there's around 2% of the population is Sikh at that time, the whole India. They say that over 90% of people who were imprisoned, or those people who gave their lives in some way, shape or form, who did a sacrifice for the independence of India, over 90% are Sikhs. And you can read the rest of the figures about people who died there in the Akali movement and all that type of stuff. Hindustan, Pakistan is made. What is ripped in half? Punjab. Punjab, what we know it now, as spanning from Amritsar Sahib to Chandigarh, that is not Punjab. Punjab spans all the way from Peshawar, which is the northwestern frontier of Pakistan now. I went there when I was 11, so many years ago I've seen that place. All the way from Peshawar, all the way up to the gates of Delhi. That is what Punjab was. Okay? And Punjab is cut down on purpose to make sure that the Sikhs have as least power as they can. I'm going to just run through these. You can make a note of this. I don't want to get too much into facts and figures because you can read them yourself off the screen. So you see millions of Sikhs are left homeless. My family, I know my grandfathers, they were kids then, they travelled. My in-laws, right? They were also in Pakistan at that time. They had to travel over into India, into Haryana, where they were given Jameen. Okay? So this is something which affects us. One side Hindustan, one side Pakistan. In the middle, Punjab gets split completely in half. I think the image there speaks for itself. We'll carry on and we'll get back to this. In 1947, there's a white paper. Chandulal Trivedi, who at that time, if I'm not mistaken, was the commissioner of the police in Punjab, or at least on some high level. He lets out a white paper, or he sends a circular to the police in Punjab, to all the officials in Punjab, that the Sikhs are what we say in Punjabi, Jaraim Pesha Qaum. Jaraim Pesha means literally a group of rapists, looters, thugs. You could put it that way. You know, it's hard to translate exactly into English, but you understand where I'm coming from. It says these people are a nation of thieves, looters, They are a nation of people who have no sense.
Jarai means cruel.
Jaraim aap keh sakde hain, cruel. Yeah. So an unruly group of savages is the word you could use, all this type of stuff, barbarians. I don't like to use those words because they've been used against people in different contexts, but Jaraim Pesha Qawm is what we're called. So that carries around in 1947. This is to tell you what comes before 1984. 1953, there was the Punjabi Suba. Now, in this hour or so, I'm not going to give you all the details of Punjabi Suba. No other state has to fight in order to be established on the lines of language. Only Punjab has to fight. And many of your grandfathers went to jail. And you can ask them yourself. A lot of them went to jail in the Punjabi Suba Morcha. Thousands of people going into jail in order to establish Punjab. Didn't happen in Gujarat, didn't happen in UP, didn't happen anywhere else. Only Punjab that the Punjabis had to fight. Not just Sikhs, Hindus, people who actually believed in this cause, because there were Hindu brothers with us as well. I want to underline that as well, that this is not a lecture against any religion. This is not a lecture saying that only Sikhs were killed. This is not that type of a lecture. This is trying to look into what 1984 was. The word Hindu does not mean enemy to a Sikh. Neither does the word Muslim mean enemy. Neither does the word Christian mean enemy. Because we come from that tradition, Bisar gei sab taat parai jabte sad sangat mohe pai. The idea of sitting in the sangat is that no one is your enemy. There are people who are born into Hindu households who could be our enemy. There are people who are born into Muslim households who could be our enemy. And look at this, up until all these shahidiyan which the names are Khan, Manu, Nawaz, Beg, Dawla. All of a sudden, 1947 comes, the name comes up Bedi, Gandhi. Jurmi bande da dharm nahi hunda. A person who is evil has no religion. He's not Hindu, he's not Muslim, and forgive me, he's not a Sikh either. 1955, the police charge inside Harimandir Sahib. So this is a picture. Some people think 1984 was the first time. 1955, the police come inside. You can see they're wearing boots. And when they come in, 506 are arrested. They also let off tear gas in the Parikrama and especially in the complex where the Guru Nanak Niwas is, Guru Ramdas Ji's Langar. On that side, tear gas, all these things are used against the Sikhs. This is all to do with the Punjabi Suba Morcha in order to establish Punjab as a state. 11-year-old Inderjeet Singh, Sant Janel Singh used to mention this in his speeches. 11-year-old Inderjeet Singh, he raises the slogan, Punjabi Suba Jindabad. Just for saying 3 words, Punjabi Suba Jindabad, Inderjeet Singh is thrown into a well. You can see this picture here of Inderjeet Singh being thrown as an artist's interpretation of that time. All he says is, I believe in a Punjab. I believe in Punjab. The word Khalistan is not used. The word Sikhistan is not used. Just that I believe in a Punjabi Suba, a state within India where Punjabi is spoken. Punjabi Suba Jindabad. Those 3 words lead an 11-year-old to be thrown into a well. And that was one of the main events of that time which really hit the psyche of the Sikhs. The young 11-year-old, ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਦੇ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਬੀਤਦੀ ਆ, ਜਦੋਂ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਆ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬੜਾ ਦੂਰ ਦਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਆ ਜੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਨਿਆਣਾ ਹੋਵੇ 11 ਸਾਲ ਦਾ. How many hopes and aspirations do you have joined to that child? That child is then thrown into a well just for 3 words. Not for killing, not for murdering, not for any type of rebellious activity, just for saying Punjabi Suba Jindabad. This is what happened from the 1940s leading up to the 1980s. Then, when you have the fight against the war against Pakistan, when the army comes to Punjab, who feeds the army? We feed the army. People come out of their villages, the people of Gurdaspur, the people of Majha of that area which is on the border, they come out, the people of Malwa, Faridkot, because the border goes all the way along. Majha and Malwa touch the border of Pakistan. Doaba doesn't, but Majha and Malwa touch this border. Those people come out, the women especially, right? and they start making prashada pani, sending it to the Fauja. So when India needs us to fill the stomach, then the daughters of Punjab feed the Indian army. After that, what happens? 56,000 arrests. They take place. This is Punjabi Suba Morcha. This isn't 1984, this isn't the attack on Harimandir Sahib, this is the build-up. No other place was anyone arrested in order to build a state. But in Punjab this happens. Okay, one thing we left out here was the Anandpur Sahib resolution. 1973, Anandpur Sahib da Mata is written. Okay? And when you hear speeches from that time, you will hear this being mentioned a lot. And you can actually look through the Anandpur Sahib Mata. I would suggest maybe that even as one of the forums, you can look through it and ask questions about it. Not today, obviously, we don't have it at hand. But as a forum, you can look through and you can assess yourselves what you think of it. I think you should read it because it is a very relevant document to 1984. It's one of the things which is highly talked about. In the Anandpur Sahib resolution, this resolution is not calling for a separate country again. It's just calling for more autonomy in Punjab. Autonomy means, like you have here, a federal system where the states can decide upon their own laws. They can decide what to do with their own land, what to do with their own water, their own resources. That same type of system is what the Punjabis are asking for. Not just the Sikhs, the whole of Punjab. If rivers are flowing through Punjab, kale Sikh te nahi ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਾਣੀ ਪੀਂਦੇ, kale ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਖੇਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾਣੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਹਿੰਦੂ ਵੀਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਘਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪਾਣੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਮੁਸਲਮਾਨ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਘਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਣੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ, ਈਸਾਈ ਵੀ ਉਸੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਨੂੰ ਪੀਣਾ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਰੱਬ ਨੂੰ ਮੰਨਦਾ ਉਹਨੇ ਵੀ ਉਸੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਨੂੰ ਪੀਣਾ. Whether you're atheist, Christian, Hindu, Muslim or Sikh, you're going to drink water at the end of the day. The rivers of Punjab don't just belong to one qawm or one nation, they belong to us all. Which is why 1984 doesn't just belong to us, it belongs to the whole of Punjab. And when you listen to some people on the other side of the border, in Pakistan, some poets, when they write about 1984, one of my favorite poems about 1984 is written by a Muslim. And he wrote it on June 9th, 1984. Afsar Nandala. And one of the best poems, in fact, I would go as far as to say my favorite poem about the attack. When I say favorite, I don't mean, it's glorifying the attack. I mean a poem that really gives you the pain. Sit down, put his name into YouTube, put in 1984, and you'll listen to something which really shakes you. So, this carries on. 1975, I've got so used to saying it in Punjabi, a state of emergency is called by the Prime Minister. Who is the Prime Minister? By that time, Indira Gandhi is in power. The reason why she calls a state of emergency is to basically establish a bit of a dictatorship for a while so that no one else can challenge it. The Akalis are gaining power in Punjab. Other states are also trying to get power from her. In order to stop them, what does she do? She says, I will call a state of emergency. That means anywhere that there is a procession, not more than a few people, a few dozen can get together. At that time, what happens? Sant Kartar Singh Ji, you can see sitting on the stage here. Next to him is Gyani Zail Singh, and that's, I think, Captain as well, sitting up there. You can see that Sant Kartar Singh Ji sitting there. He, in that time of emergency, as a protest against the government, leads 37 Nagar Kirtans. So in a time when more than a few dozen aren't allowed to get together, Sant Kartar Singh Ji peacefully protests. How? By leading Nagar Kirtans, 37 of them in Punjab. That is where they start looking at the Dandami Taksal as well. They start looking at Sikh Jathebandiyan and see that they are a potential challenge, a threat to their power. Okay? You can read about the rivers, and I've talked about the water before. 1978 comes, 13 Singhs belonging to various Jathebandis, the Dandami Taksal Jatha Mehta, and also belonging to the Akhand Kirtani Jatha. They protest peacefully against the Nirankari Guru at that time, Gurbachan Singh. And at that time, the police get together, throw gas canisters, acid at them. 13 of those things give their lives. Is there a case against any of the Nirankaris? No. Not one of the Nirankaris is convicted, not one of the policemen is convicted. And that relates to here as well. Think about here, when the police kill someone, and that policeman or that person isn't convicted, injustice happens everywhere and anywhere. An injustice against one person, one qawm, one nation is an injustice against every single qawm, especially minorities. This is one thing where the Sikhs haven't been able to, sorry to say that, Khad Sangadi, but we haven't been able to establish links with other minorities. That's one of our major failures. If we could have built more links, may not have saved us, but at least we would have had more solidarity with those other people who were suffering, or who are suffering now. Anyway, 1978, 13 Singhs give their Shahidi. Then after that, 1981, Sri Harimandir Sahib, the Sikhs are asking for it to be given state as a holy city. That means, no alcohol within the city, all that type of stuff. And this is already given, holy city status was given to Banaras and other holy cities. मैं फिर आखां, सानू कोई एतराज नहीं. Any city which has a link with a spirituality or whatever, that can be given holy city status. When the Sikhs ask for it, then 10,000, I've used the word Hindu there, really I should use the word extremists. They gather inside Amritsar Sahib and they protest against this. Hum shaan se jiyenge, bidi cigarette piyenge, these types of nare, these types of slogans are shouted inside Amritsar Sahib. 1982, Sikhs are stopped from attending the Asia Games. That's documented by Sant Janel Singh again in his speeches. That is when the Dharm Yudh Morcha begins. The fight for righteousness. Dharm Yudh Morcha. 1983, Marjivade. Marjivade means people who are ready to give their head for the cause. One of the first people to sign up, what was his name? Sant Janel Singh. He puts his name down. That I will fight for the qawm. And some things which happened at this time, I haven't put up. Rape happening in Punjab by the police. Okay? Various accounts. Okay? Not once, not twice. Police torturing Sikhs and other people as well for no reason. Okay? Other than just because they're blind with power. All these other events are also happening in Punjab at that time. It's not just what I've documented, there are also other things that you can listen into and read into yourselves. Anyway, if we come to the attack, all of this builds up. From 1947 all the way up to this time here, this is one of the things who was Shaheed in 1978. It's building up, building up, building up. Sant Janel Singh Ji is advocating more autonomy in Punjab, control over Punjab's waters for Punjab. Sant Janel Singh Ji is advocating more rights. Not to be, his slogan was, we do not want to be treated like second-class citizens. That is what our problem is. Our problem is that you look at us as second-class citizens. That is what Sant Janel Singh Ji is saying. That is what he's advocating. At that time, he's not advocating anything other than that. We do not want to be treated like second-class citizens. Sant Janel Singh Ji is then surrounded at a place called Chandokala. They set fire to the buses of Dandami Taksal. Many of the Potiyan, a lot of Gutka Sahibs, are set on fire. Sant Janel Singh Ji, not to long this out too much, but he feels a lot of pain of that. Gurbani de Gutke are being burned. The 2 or 3 buses of Taksal are set on fire. The main bus which was carrying the Potiyan Sahib, because Taksal is a university, obviously they're going to be teaching Gurbani. So the Potiyan, the Pehle Bhag, Duje Bhag, Gutka Sahibs, they will go up in flames. Anyway, coming on to the actual attack. Okay? Aakhirkar, what happens? For many reasons, okay? Not pointing in one direction, for many reasons, the Indian Army, under the command of the Prime Minister at that time, with the signature of the President of India, Zail Singh, is authorized to attack Sri Harimandir Sahib. Now, why are they authorized to attack Sri Harimandir Sahib? And why are they authorized to attack another 37 Gurdwara? People say they went to capture Sant Janel Singh. Sant Janel Singh wasn't sitting in 37 Gurdwara. He was sitting inside the Akal Takht Sahib. He wasn't in Muktsar Sahib when the army came there. He wasn't in any of the other Gurdwara when the army went there. This is not an attack on a person. The idea is to attack the heart of Sikhi. What is the heart of Sikhi? One thing you'll see in anyone's house, even those people who have the slightest connection to the Sikh faith, those people who only turn up to the Gurdwara once a year, even in their houses you'll see a picture of Harimandir Sahib somewhere. You might not see anything else, you might not find a Gutka Sahib, you might not find them praying, you might find a whole lot of other things, a hell of a lot of other things, but one thing you will find is a picture of Harimandir Sahib somewhere in their house, somewhere, kite na kite, because Harimandir Sahib is the heart of Sikhi. The attack on Harimandir is not an attack on one person, it never was. Before this there have been several attacks on Harimandir. Every single attack on Harimandir is an attack upon the whole nation. That's what it has always been. General Siha, he refuses to attack. He offers an alternative to the Prime Minister. He says, look, we don't need to fight, we don't need to send the army in, we can just surround the complex and they will come out. We can deny them electricity, we can deny them water, there's no need to do this. And he's spoken about this widely. A lot of you can see his own words. On YouTube there's various interviews with him. General Siha refuses. Then the Indian army, these three generals you can see, Barar, Dayal and Sundar, these three are given the job of attacking Sri Harimandir Sahib. They estimate that Sant Janal Singh will give up in 2 hours. How wrong they were, right? On 31st May, they start entering into Amritsar Sahib. When they enter into Amritsar Sahib, some fundamentalists are welcoming the Indian army in. 1st of June, firing starts. First Shaheed, his name is Bhai Sukha Singh. He was standing on the Baba Atal Rai Tower. He is the first Singh to give his life in the 1984 attack. They say that there was non-stop 8 hours of firing on that first day, and from the sources I have read, around 36 bullets come and hit the dome of Harimandir Sahib. And famously after this, the army are always saying, oh, we didn't touch the Harimandir Sahib, there was no damage to Sri Harimandir Sahib. On the first day the army start firing, Harimandir Sahib has 36 bullets in the top dome. Curfew is imposed on the media. People are not allowed to report on what's happening because what's happening is not legal. This is an illegal attack by the army on its own citizens, not on anyone else. Anyway, the 2nd of June comes, 70,000 soldiers enter into Punjab. 70,000 Fauji Punjab vich aa janda hai. On the 2nd of June. This is where you see those videos of big trucks full of Indian army personnel coming into Punjab. So the curfew is imposed, but 70,000 of the army have entered into Punjab. 3rd of June is the Shahidi of Guru Arjan Dev Sache Padshah Ji Maharaj. And by that time, this figure I've got, some people say 20,000, some people say 15,000. I took the lower estimate of 15,000 just to be safe. That around 15,000 people are in Darbar Sahib at that time. 9 to 11, the curfew is lifted. But people are not allowed to leave, they are only allowed to enter. How can that curfew be lifted? You are not allowed to leave, you can't go outside, but we can get more people in. What does that suggest to you? It doesn't take a genius to figure out what's happening there. The maximum amount of people are being flocked into Harimandir Sahib at that time. So they come in. On the 4th of June, you have people being locked into their rooms at Nanak Nawaz, and they say that at around 5 a.m, I've written 4:45 according to Singh Sahib Gyani Pooran Singh Ji's account. He says that around 4:45, bullets started firing in the Parkarma. On one side, Asa Diwar is happening inside Harimandir Sahib. Outside, bullets start firing. What happens inside Akal Takht is Sant Janal Singh is there with General Shabeg Singh, Bhai Amrik Singh. Sant Ji does ardas. At this point, Sant Ji wasn't letting any of the Singhs fire in the Parkarma. He had banned them. He said, we will not fire in the Parkarma. The firing with Bhai Sukha Singh took place on 1st June, as you saw, right? And on 2nd June, they say that Sant Janal Singh was sitting on the Langar hall Guru Ram Das Ji Langarwal, there was a Singh there, his name is Baba Mukhtiar Singh. He was there. He says that Sant Jarnail Singh Ji was fired upon, and there was a bit of exchange on the top of the Langar hall on the 2nd of June. But Sant Ji said to the Singhs that we are not going to fire in the Parikrama until they start. On the 4th of June, that's when the army starts firing openly inside the Parikrama. On this day, I mean, you know, we've had here that the bullets hit the dome of Darbar Sahib, but they're not exchanging fire directly with the Kharku Singhs who are around Akal Takht Sahib in the Parikrama. Anyway, what happens on this day is electricity is cut off, water tanks are targeted, it's sweltering hot, people are locked in their rooms, up to 50 people in one room. A room is not this size. If you go to Nanak Nivas even now, rooms are pretty damn small. And 50 people are locked in one room. Some people, when they opened the rooms, there was only about 3 or 4 people left alive in those rooms. The rest were dead bodies on the 7th of June, the 8th of June. So it wasn't just people who were firing against the government, innocent people who were locked in their rooms. And even those people who were firing were innocent. Why were they firing? They were firing because this belongs to them. This is their Harimandir. This is their Darbar. This is their Akal Takht. Who is the Indian army to walk into Sri Akal Takht Sahib? Who is the Indian army to impose something on Harimandir Sahib? Harimandir Sahib is not under any government. Harimandir Sahib or Akal Takht, that's why the Guru made the Akal Takht. The Akal Takht. The answers to no one else other than Akal. You understand that type of concept? That's what Guru Sahib Ji was saying. That's why he made the Takht of Akal. Anyway, Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj cannot be taken back to Akal Takht Sahib on that day. Singh Sahib Gyani Puran Singh does Sukha Singh in the top dome, in the roof of, no, not the top dome, on the 2nd level of Sri Darbar Sahib. They take Guru Granth Sahib Ji upstairs. Also, on this day of 4th June and the 5th June, especially on this day, these are pictures from the 1984 attack. Some sources say that dye was sent into the Sarovar. Some people say that the Sarovar is poisoned. There's various different accounts. But some things that we do know is that special commandos start trying to attack Sri Akal Takht Sahib. As they come towards the Akal Takht Sahib, General Shabeg Singh had placed his soldiers in such places. Out of 60 people, 59 of the Indian army died. And these are the people who thought Sant Jarnail Singh Ji would come out in 2 hours. Also, you know, as I told you before, 60 young Sikhs locked in a room, 55 died. Young Sikhs are having their dastana tied behind their backs to use their hands, to be used as handcuffs. So your turbans are removed, your kakars are taken off, thrown into the drains and gutters, your kange, karpana, kadeo, that type of stuff. Dastana being used, people are being shot at point blank range. Also on 5th June, 6th June, we're gonna get onto that in a bit. On the evening of 5th June, some people say 10 tanks, some people say 13. Gyani Puran Singh said about 13. Gyani Puran Singh says that in the evening he's walking out of Harimandir Sahib. He was one of the Granthis of Harimandir Sahib. Gyani Puran Singh walks out and he says, I saw an amazing amount of light on one side of the Parikrama, that side. And he said, I thought it was fire brigades coming to put out the fire. The things were being set on fire now. The Tosha Khana was in the Darshini Dyori. So the Darshini Dyori is the gate to Harimandir Sahib. In there was a Tosha Khana. Tosha Khana means the treasury. In that treasury we had things which were millions and millions, priceless things. So a canopy which was given to Maharaja Ranjit Singh by the Prince of Hyderabad. He gave that to Maharaja Sahib. Maharaja Sahib donated that to Harimandir Sahib. Handwritten sroops of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. Many other things. All these things are in the Tosha Khana. So Gyani Puran Singh is standing here. He looks that way. He thinks that the fire brigade has come. And they're shining lights in order to put out the fire. Then what he realizes is this isn't the fire brigade, this is a tank. And when he sees the tank, he says the first gola comes, doesn't hit the Akal Takht, it comes and it hits the Tosha Khana. So the Darshini Dyori, where the treasury is, one shell from the tank comes, hits the Tosha Khana, and the Tosha Khana sets on fire. As you can see here. So this is about 8:50, some people say it's a little bit earlier, there's conflicting, but what we do know, it was definitely on that day, sometime in the afternoon or the evening. There is one story that a 14-year-old Singh went, I've got a typo in this which I should correct, a 14-year-old Singh goes to stop the tanks from coming. Then there's the story of these two young girls, Bibi Pritam Kaur, Bhai Moor Singh, Bibi Pritam Kaur, Satnam Kaur and Waheguru Kaur. These two girls are 6 and 8 years old. Their father, his name is Gyani Moor Singh. He was Brahman by caste, Hindu by faith. He once heard Sant Kartar Singh ji give a lecture, and he decided to be blessed with Amrit, and they named him Moor Singh. He comes to Sant Janel Singh and he says, I am ready to give my life in order to stop the tanks. So they run towards the tanks with grenades, this whole family. Gyani Moor Singh, his wife Pritam Kaur, his 6 and 8-year-old daughters, they run towards the tanks. They jump upon the tanks and they manage to stop at least one of the tanks, but the whole family gives their life. Gyani Moor Singh actually has one other daughter who survived the attack. She lives in Australia now. So out of that whole family, a family of 5, 4 give their lives to try and stop the tanks. 2,000 commandos come, 600 are attacked. These are pretty gory details, but they carry on. 6th of June comes, Bhai Amrik Singh ji is doing Asa Diwar. Whilst he's sitting inside Harimandir Sahib doing Asa Diwar, a bullet comes and hits him. Gyani Puran Singh takes off his dastar in order to attend to his wound, because he wants to stop the blood from flowing. Gyani Puran Singh, some people say Gyani Mohan Singh was there too. He was also one of the Granthis of Harimandir Sahib. Both of these guys are still alive. Gyani Moor Singh, you probably know him, you've probably seen him on Alpha Punjabi on the PTC when the Darbar Sahib comes on the evening. He actually sits behind during Rairas. The Singh Sahib, who has a very big white dada, that's Singh Sahib Gyani Mohan Singh. Gyani Puran Singh comes every morning at 7 a.m. to do Matha Tekana at Darbar Sahib. So you may have seen him too, right? Gyani Mohan Singh is there, Gyani Puran Singh is there. They try to attend to Ragi Amrik Singh, who was shot. Then after that, Charanjit Singh starts the Asa Diwar, Bhai Avtar Singh is shot. Bullets, as you can see, this is the Saroop, which is hit by a bullet at 6:50. Har Ki Pauri, for those of you who have attended my lectures before, is on the first level of Darbar Sahib, where the Akhand part is going on over here. So this is the main Darbar, this is where Har Ki Pauri. Har Ki Pauri, through one of the windows, a bullet comes, and the Bhatti Singh, he covers Guru Granth Sahib Ji whilst he's doing part. Bullet comes and hits his arm, some people say it hits his hand, his blood falls onto the Saroop. But we also still have that Saroop. On this day, Sant Janel Singh Ji comes into the open battle, according to a lot of the accounts, where you see the Gurdwara Sahib today. 4 p.m, firing stops, and you see people come right up to the Parikrama with alcohol and machiyai, and they start saying, fanatical people, Pindra wala marta, Sikhan marta, right up to the Parikrama. So this isn't in Amritsar the city, Amritsar Sahib the city, this is right up to the gates of the Parikrama. Gyani Puran Singh says that we were there, and we told Gyani Puran Singh, Gyani Mohan Singh, other Sevadars who were there, saying we said to the officers, stop them, right? But there was no response. People were right up to the gates shouting and cheering. Okay, 7th of June, 3 jeeps of ammunition are brought to the Akal Takht. Why? Because the amount of ammunition which was inside was not enough to justify this many days of fighting. The Indian army felt ashamed that those people who we had estimated to give up in 2 hours kept on fighting for so long. So 3 jeeps of ammunition were planted in the Parikrama. And that video which you see after that, where Aatankavadiyon ne yahan itne rakhe the, whatever, all that type of stuff, that's actually made up. a lot of those weapons were not inside the Parikrama, they were bought in 3 jeeps afterwards. That's what eyewitnesses. Obviously, there are a lot of bodies in the Parikrama, as you can see from this picture here. That's what the Parikrama looked like, bodies everywhere. So the workers of the council and the municipal workers are given sharab, they're given bribes in order to pick up the bodies. And on this day, on the 8th of June, that is when people start finding out what's happened. And that is when soldiers in the Indian army desert their posts. And they are people we call Dharmi Fauji. People who gave up their posts because they wanted to protest against what the government had done. Bhagat Puran Singh Ji of Pingalwada, he also returned his award, the Padam Shri, on the 8th of June. When Sri Harimandir Sahib, was cleaned from inside and they did Prakash again. This was after nearly 150 years, after about 100, 200 years, the Kirtan had stopped. For the first time. The Kirtan had stopped. Not since before the time of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, which was the 1840s, the 1800s. Since then the Kirtan had not stopped, it was continuous. So after 200 years, Kirtan stopped for a few days. When Sri Harimandir Sahib was cleaned up from inside, they did Prakash in Guru Granth Sahib. The Panth is now looking for answers. And who to ask the question to better than Guru Granth Sahib? So they ask Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. They say, Maharaj, what will happen here to these people who did this? The Hukamnama comes up. Ke jo jo disa vada vadera so so khaku rasi. Maharaj says those people who think that they are powerful, they will become dust. That was the Hukamnama that Guru Granth Sahib Ji gave. After that, 31st of October, you know the events which happened. Guru Granth Sahib Ji gave this Hukamnama. On 31st of October 1984, this is another historic Hukamnama. Bhagtan di sada tu rakhda har jiyo, tor tu rakhda aya. Guru Sahib Ji gives this Hukamnama on the day Satwant Beyant Kher Singh assassinate Indira Gandhi. After that, between 1st and 3rd November 1984, Sikhs are being killed mercilessly in the streets of Delhi. 2,500 Swaroops of Guru Granth Sahib Ji are burned. And some people say 20,000, some people say under that, but around 20,000. That's a very safe estimate of people who died. Rape, murder, setting fire to shops owned by Sikhs, all that type of stuff happens in that time. Even Gyani Jail Singh, the president of India, people start throwing rocks at his car as he's driving out. Even the president of India was not safe. And that's documented in the newspapers of that time as well. Since 1984 till now, 250,000 Sikhs. So if you compare that to the other times where 10,000 died, 20,000, that's a pretty enormous number. And then you have people such as Jaswant Singh Khalada, who were killed. Again, this is from the events after 1984. This is recently by Jasjeet Singh Ji in Jammu who's killed. Why? Because he didn't want a poster of Sant Janel Singh Ji to be ripped. You know, by Darshan Singh Ji. All these shaheeds whose names we are forgetting now. This is carrying on till today, and we need to figure out a way of responding to this. When I leave you with this point, the idea is not to say that you all must pick up the sword. The idea is to say that you must use something. If you can't use a sword, then take the S, put it to the end. Use your words. Okay? Sometimes words are sharper than swords. And that's not just a cheesy thing to say, really, it does work. So what you can do, right, about 1984, is you can start following what the Gurus have said. Right? That's where it begins from. What you can do about 1984 is about bringing the image of the Sikhs to the highlight where you are now. After any event happens, who are targeted even in America? The minorities. Standing up with those who are downtrodden, the fight for justice is not just in India, It's not just in England, and it's not just in America. It's all over the world. You must stand up. Ran ruto bhajye nahi, suro tharo na. Whether it's by helping orphans, whether it's by going to those places, jithe Sikhi da prachar nahi hunda in India, Andhra Pradesh, all those areas where there are Sikhs waiting for someone to help them. They have no way, they don't know very much about Sikhi, but they don't cut their case, they know that they belong to Guru Nanak. Do something. Whatever you want to choose as your path, do something. If you listen to today, if you want to ask questions, that's all good and well. But the idea is to take a step. Not my step, your step. Whatever your step is to be. So I know I've taken a little bit over time. If you want to discuss things, ask questions, then I'm more than happy for that. What it is if you're a puppet, it doesn't matter where you are, right? ਜੇ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਠਪੁਤਲੀ ਹੋ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਰੱਖ ਦਿਓ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਆ ਕਠਪੁਤਲੀ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਹੇ ਤੇ ਨੱਚਣਾ ਤੇ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਥੋੜੀ ਬਹੁਤੀ ਗੈਰਤ ਆ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚਪੜਾਸੀ ਦੇ ਲੈਵਲ ਉੱਤੇ ਵੀ ਖਤਰਾ ਹੋ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਚਪੜਾਸੀ ਦੇ ਲੈਵਲ ਤੇ ਹੋ ਤੇ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਆਫਿਸਰ ਦੇ ਲੈਵਲ ਤੇ ਹੋ ਜੇ ਆਫਿਸਰ ਕਠਪੁਤਲੀ ਆ ਉਹਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਡਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਜੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਾਂਗੇ ਉਹ ਕਰੇਗਾ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਥੋੜੀ ਬਹੁਤੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਸੈਲਫ ਐਸਟੀਮ ਆ ਆਪਣੀ ਸੋਚ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਆ that's where khatra hunda hai. That's where you see governments. When someone has a little bit of their own sort of vichar, that type of thing, that is where things go wrong, है ना? So, मैं एक और गाल तो आनु जनरल शबेग सिंह बारे जो मैं बड़ी सी मैंने बहुत इंस्पिरेशनल लगी, not knowing, I don't have the answer to that. But General Shabeg Singh's brother died. ते उन्हां दी माता ने कहा सी उन्हां नू कि हुण when he was retired, है ना? उन्हां दे भराता जी वो चढ़ाई कर गए. His mum said कि शबेग सिंह मरना सारिया नहीं है कुछ पंथ ले कर जा. The reference for that is from a book called Operation Blue Star, The True Story. You can find it in Fremont Gurdwara Library. It's written by H. Kaur. I can't remember her name fully, but H. Kaur. Operation Blue Star, The True Story. On page, I don't know, I'll give the page reference as well. But she writes that General Shabeg Singh's mother, and this is where I say to the women as well, sitting here, look at the role she did. She went to jail with General Shabeg Singh. So some people don't know that General Shabeg Singh Tanvir Morche bhi gaye sige. His mother also went to jail. When she went to jail, the police officers offered her a chair to sit on. She refused. She said, "Main ina jalma di koi cheez nahi leni." Then they put her in jail. It's December. They offer her a blanket. She says, "Nahi, no food, no blanket." ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੇ ਜ਼ੁਲਮ ਢਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੈਣਾ. So that was General Shabeg Singh's inspiration. Okay, first what you need to do is you need to change the little bit of knowledge of Sikhi. That's where you begin to change the world. Bhai Taru Singh wasn't a jathedar. He was just an average person, right? And he said that same thing to his mother. He said, "Mom, how can I change? What can I do?" And his mum said, "Look, we haven't got any big jameen, we haven't got loads of land, right? But what I do have is I have a few patile hai, dighe, and we can make langar and you can take it into the jungles." ठीक है? He wasn't fighting against anyone. Pulle pind de vich ek aam jimidara da bacha si, just a farmer, right? But now, whenever you hear the word jinna ko badiyan utraiyan, who do you think of? So little young farmer's child, right, whose father died when he was young. He was an orphan as well. Not an orphan, he had his mother, brought up in a single parent family. He did something which changed our history, you know? Everyone can make a difference. So you need to change that little bit of knowledge to a lot of knowledge first. Sanji wasn't just inside Harimandir Sahib with arms. Wherever Sanji went, he wore arms. So if we say, why was he in there with arms? A lot of the people who say, oh, he was there with guns. How dare you take a gun into the Akal Takht? You don't realize that where you bow down to the Akal Takht, there are already guns in that golden place, the golden throne. Baba Deep Singh Ji's 2 pistols are there. The pistols of Baba Garbakh Singh are there as well. Some people think that the Gurus didn't own guns. Those of you who read your history will know Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji would always wear a gun. Not just one gun, he would also wear a pistol. So he used to have a musket on his shoulder and he would have a pistol in his gatra, Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji Maharaj. So wearing of weapons is not something which came new to the Sikh Panth. Baba Deep Singh Ji also wore weapons at that same Akal Takht. So did Baba Gurbakh Singh Ji, so have many other Sikhs standing there at the Akal Takht. Sant Ji wasn't the first and he won't be the last to bear arms at Sri Akal Takht Sahib. Okay? So why was Sant Ji in Harimandir Sahib with arms is a question which, really, why shouldn't he be there? When we say Shastran ke adheen hai raj jo na dhare tis bigde kaaj, this is in our scriptures, in our history. Okay? When we say as kirpan khando khadag tupak tabar arati, tupak means gun. Tupak doesn't mean a sword. When you say that, ye hai hamare peer, you're saying that to the gun as well, and to the pistol. Sant Ji wasn't hiding in the Akal Takht Sahib. From the Akal Takht Sahib, he had a platform to spread the message to the Sikhs who were sitting in their villages, who otherwise would not have been reachable. Again, some of us don't know, this was a time before. If you're sitting here today, I know what's happening in England. In the morning, I get up, I read BBC News after my Nitnem, right? I find out what's happening. At a time where you don't have these types of sadhan, and where the state is against you, it doesn't want people to know what's happening, what are you going to do? You can't rely on television, because that's owned by the state. You can't rely on radio, that's owned by the state. Everything is owned by the state. How are you going to get your message across? The way that Sant Ji did it was in the Manji Sahib Diwan Hall, right? Where thousands would come to listen to him. Not just people who were part of the movement, but just random villagers. People would come to do darshan of Harimandir Sahib and they would listen to Sant Ji speak. Sant Ji, when they were inside the Akal Takht Sahib, firstly, he was not unjustified, he was justified to be there. Secondly, it is his home, the Akal Takht Sahib, the home of the Panth. Why go anywhere else in the first place? Thirdly, the government attacked 37 other Gurdwara. Sant Ji would have gone to another Gurdwara, the army was already there, or 37 main Gurdwara were occupied in Punjab. So if we say, oh, it was because Sant Jarnail Singh was there, that isn't the reason. The 37 other Gurdwara didn't contain Sant Jarnail Singh. When Masarangar desecrates Harimandir Sahib, Sukha Singh Matab se go. When Abadali attacks Harimandir Sahib, Baba Gurbakh Singh Ji fights against him. When Nadir Shah attacks Harimandir Sahib, Baba Deep Singh Ji fights against him. And actually, this is a real moment from the Satwant Singh Beant Singh story, that when they were discussing what to do, and Baj flew over them, right? And Satwant and Beant Singh said to each other that, you know, this is Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji Maharaj speaking to us. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ, ਸਾਡੇ ਅਜੋਕੇ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਤਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਿਤਾ ਜੀ, ਬੇਅੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਦਾ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ, ਕੇਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਦਾ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ, ਉਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਆ. When they were discussing what to do, Baj flew over a falcon, and they took that as a sign from Bajjawala, from Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji Maharaj. And if you read the Hukamnama from Harimandir Sahib that day, the justification doesn't come from anyone else, it comes for us from Gurbani. Guru Granth Sahib Ji says, Bhagta di tu sada rakhda har jiyo, turtu rakhda aya, prahlad jan, tud rakh lay har jiyo, Harnakas mar bachaya. Just like you killed Harnakas in Sattu, in the same way you have killed the Harnakas of today. So our justification shouldn't have to come from anywhere else, it comes from Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji and from our history.